Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and Puerto Rico has declared bankruptcy. John, can you go into what is going on?
Well, we've been waiting for this for a while. They should have declared it back in 2015 when they really couldn't pay their debts. Now, we did a video back in July 2016, and we said we opened with Puerto Rico's bankrupt, it can't pay its debt. And of course, they've said that they might not declare bankruptcy, they might look at a bailout, but I think this bailout was too big. It's $74 billion, and it's massive when you think about the collapse that cost everything in with the subprime mortgages. It was only $13 billion worth of mortgages that collapsed. Yeah. So $74 billion, and I'll be very curious to see the banksters that were involved here. What's going to happen with that? Of course, now they're going to go into Puerto Rico and pick up the scraps, the good real estate, whatever is left of their commodities.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see another looting frenzy. And of course, we got Detroit that have declared a bankruptcy. And I think this is just the start of everything to come. There's so many states, pension funds, especially the government. The government has become so big that it's unsustainable. And what we're going to see over the next period of maybe 5-10 years, we're going to see just governments going bankrupt left, right, and center and collapsing in on themselves.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching from Puerto Rico, please let us know in the comments below a bit about your experiences in Puerto Rico and how it's affected you. But also, I mean, this is just another example of them on the surface. Everything's all good. We won't declare bankruptcy. It's all good. It's nothing to see here. You know, the house is on fire. Oh, no, it's just...
Meanwhile, they actually said that they wouldn't be able to pay their debts. But I guess that doesn't mean that you have to declare bankruptcy.
No, it's ridiculous. And like I said, it's just all about decorating a burning house. And in the end, this is going to happen. It's inevitable. It's coming down. And this is just a piece of the puzzle worldwide where this is starting to happen everywhere, but at a really slow scale. It's
not that fast because there's so much manipulation. And
fundamentals are off the table, like we often say.
They don't want, of course, this to happen, but it will happen. It's the eventual outcome of any... overbloated fiat monetary system with debt, with a massive debt increase in it.
Yeah, absolutely. For those that aren't aware, new people to our channel, etc., fiat currency is printed out of thin air. It devalues, and then it creates debt and inflation. All fiat currencies historically eventually revert to its intrinsic value of zero, always has, always will, and we're coming close to 1024 AD, almost 1,000 years ago, was the first fiat currency, and it's just failed and failed and failed. But the thing is, it creates a great control complex. Imagine shoving someone down a bottomless pit of debt, and the only way to get back up from that pit, that hole that you're stuck in, is to ask for a helping hand from the government or from the banking system. That is subservience. Yeah. That is servitude.
Yeah, well, you talked about fiat currency, but on top of that, they have what's called a fractional reserve banking system.
Exactly.
So, of course, well, by the old rules, I don't know exactly what the new rules is. I know in Canada, there's no rules on how much reserves you can have. But the old rule says you can get about 10 times more of what the government prints. So let's say the government gets into $100 of debt. Well, now you could print out of thin air another $1,000.
I wish the government was only $100.
And that's on top of that. The $100 is not even a part of it.
Yeah.
It's on top of the $100. So that's how insane the expansion becomes when they apply the fractional reserve banking system on top of it. And that's why you've seen Puerto Rico get to a point of so much unsustainable debt that they just collapsed and declared a bankruptcy.
Well, where do you see this going, John? Is it going to be a debt jubilee, or is it going to get worse before it gets better?
I think it's going to be worse before it gets better because the central bankers I don't think they're willing to go down with a defeat because they think that they're the masters of the universe. They got
and they kind of are right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, they've been able to manipulate it greater than any fiat currency ever that was created, so they really become good at this. But the problem is you have the same system in the background, even though we try to manipulate it greater. And eventually this whole system will collapse in on itself. It's just unsustainable. People can get into debt, of course, but it comes to a point where that debt becomes so massive that you can't afford anymore to pay for anything.
Absolutely. It's inevitable. It always comes down. Like I said, fundamentals are off the table because of the level of manipulation, so you can't pinpoint a date on it, but you know that it's going to happen. And it's going to happen sooner than later with places like Puerto Rico. And
now it's happened, actually. It's official.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's going to get, like you mentioned, it's going to get worse, and it's going to continue to topple down. It's a domino fall, and it's inevitable, and it will happen. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be affected by it, but that's why people have to be self-sustainable and get away from the centralized system, get away from the government manipulation, and be able to take care of themselves, because in the end, that's really what humanity is, the ability to perpetuate the species of humanity by being able to take care of yourself, defend yourself, and insure yourself with sound money as well.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is this whole debt expansion, it goes all the way back to China in 1024.
Yeah, that's what we were saying, yeah.
But what was interesting with China, they had what they called the miracle of the economy, where suddenly they had a massive middle class, everybody prospered big time. But then the problem was they got to a point where everybody was in debt, and there was not a way to pay back that debt because it was such a massive amount, and it was unsustainable, that it was not backed by mass amounts of innovation and all this that we've been talking about. It was backed on just a castle. You had exchange, people trading on the value of the currency at the time. So again, that's where you see that the end game right now, where you have all Wall Street and everybody just trading on derivatives of money. And that's where we're heading. This system will collapse quite fast. I'm surprised that it actually been kept alive for so long. Guys like Mike Maloney says it's usually about 40 years that fiat currency could live until it completely collapses. And we're at 45, 44, 45, I believe, 1971. So now we're actually at 46 years right now, and we're on borrowed time.
Absolutely. And, it's important to mention that free markets warrant competition, innovation, and employment, vast employment, and it goes on and on and on. It piles up, and it's a good thing.
Government employment.
Yeah, and government and the banking system warrants debt and destruction. It always has, always will. It begets more of the collectivist mindset, and it just grows and grows and grows until it becomes unsustainable. It's so heavy that the people on the bottom that are holding it up get crushed underneath. And this is 100%. Why we want people to be able to get outside of that system, decentralize, get out of the centralized grid, and be able to take care of themselves. So thanks, John, for going into this, and we'll be back at you with much more. We hope to continue to cover Puerto Rico as this story continues to develop. But until then, check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, we can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as YouTube completely demonetizes us and censors us to the extent that they are. Also, check our address for Bitcoin in the description and the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan, if you please. And also check our link to the Red Pill Expo, where you can buy tickets to the incredible Red Pill Expo in Bozeman, Montana in June, if you are able to. It's going to be great. We hope to see you there. You can see people like G. Edward Griffin, Robert Kiyosaki, Lord Moncton, James Corbett, Ty Bollinger, Mike Adams, Cynthia McKinney, Richard Gage, John B. Wells, John Rappaport, and the list goes on and on and on.
Have fun with freedom-loving people.
Absolutely.
Network. That's the most great part about it.
Yeah, and you can come out of it with an answer to a lot of these crucial questions that we need to ask in this at this point in time, as things start to topple down on top of us. But again, thanks again, John, and we'll be back at you with much more. This is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.